Hey folks, I'm Spencer, and today I said I would do a video on what having drains are like after top surgery. I got top surgery last Tuesday, so a week previously from today, and I got my first of two drains out yesterday. So I have one in, and I got one out, so I feel like I'm in the perfect place to do a video on this since I've had like every experience around them. I'm just gonna go kind of chronologically. I don't really do a lot of YouTube videos, and I thought I'd just first say my overall experiences with them, like getting them, having them, getting them out, and then I have some questions from Instagram that I was gonna try to address, and then at the end, I guess a little warning for any of you, I'm gonna put a video at the end of the actual process of like maintaining and caring for the drains. It's not super gross in my opinion, but there is blood. You won't see any open wounds or anything like that, but it does show blood. So first off, I had double incision top surgery, so that's where they completely take off the nipples, cut under where the nipples, or I guess cut above where the nipples were, and like pull it down and sew it shut, and then graft the nipples back on, so I have no nipple sensitivity and like little chest sensitivity. One of the questions I got initially was, what did it feel like having the drains put in? But thank God, you're asleep for that part. So getting the drains put in is part of the surgery. You're not going to be awake or feeling any of that. I just woke up in a hospital bed with them in. The first day, I was pretty messed up after the anesthetic because I don't react with it super well. It makes me really nauseous and ended up vomiting a few times. But the drains weren't gross or bad. Like, it's definitely tender, and where they go into the skin is very sensitive because you have something in your skin there. It's just like an IV, which I know is also gross, but the IV was more uncomfortable. Honestly, getting the tape removed from around the IV, pulling it out of my arm hair, was more uncomfortable than the drains have been at any time. But you're not really super aware of them. You can't put your arms down a ton when you have them in, because they're kind of under the armpits, and that's when you feel them, so you're supposed to keep your arms elevated and not do anything. Like, you can tell when you're stretching a little too far, and just in general, you're not supposed to move around a ton after top surgery. You're supposed to get up, gentle walking, just to make sure you don't have any like blood clotting or anything, just make sure everything's working properly. However, you don't want to move around too much because there'll be too much blood flow. And what the drains are for, I guess I should talk about that too. The drains are for sucking away any excess liquid, blood, or plasma, or just gross human body goo that can accumulate after surgery. So the chest doesn't swell. I've heard that the drains also help with scarring, but I don't really know, like, my surgeon mentioned that, but I don't really know in what way. So after I was discharged and came home from the hospital, you're supposed to maintain your drains, because before a nurse was coming in and doing it for me. What that means is so the drain is a tube with a little bulb at the end that is squeezed shut so that it is like constantly sucking a little bit. And what you do is you hold the top of the tube and squeeze down it and like work your way down so any liquid or blood goes into the bulb. And I did that 3 times a day and tracked it on this sheet, poured the liquid from the bulb into this little measuring cup, and that was all it really was. People have asked what it feels like having them under the skin. Can you feel them move? I'm somebody who gets really skeezed out about things under the skin. like very specifically. I don't have an aversion to blood, but the thought of like needles or skin getting cut and things like that, like I don't watch Game of Thrones, I don't watch Supernatural, I can't watch things with gore because of these reasons. Like I'll like have a panic attack. I'm definitely really, really sensitive to it. And even with that, them being under the skin hasn't really been a huge issue. They do not move. Your chest is either just sore or numb. You don't feel them. Like, there's nothing moving around under there. The only time I kind of feel anything is when I'm stripping the drain, and when I squeeze down and the pressure changes, I can feel that along where the tube is a bit, and it's not the comfiest. I mean, I'm not saying this is all painless, but it's really not a huge deal. I'm only 1 week post-op. I've already gotten one of the drains out. I'm getting the other one out this Thursday, and the first few days when I was more sore, my mother was helping me strip the drains. I've gotten to the point where I can do it myself. I have movement of my arms just fine, and it doesn't hurt. You get pretty used to it really quick. And you'll have painkillers. And one thing I did was I would take a painkiller, and then in an hour when I felt like it started working is when I'd like plan to strip my drain. So one of the main reasons I wanted to make this video was because I feel like the drains are something that seems really prohibitive for people. Like they are so afraid of them that it just keeps them from wanting top surgery. And I was kind of the same way. Not that I didn't want top surgery, but as somebody who does get freaked out by things like this, and I have a chronic neck injury and I already live with chronic pain, I didn't know if I would deal with it well. But it's been so genuinely much easier than I anticipated. They haven't kept me from sleeping. You're supposed to sleep at a 30-degree angle for the first week. At least I was instructed to do that. So I have like a wedge pillow and a neck pillow, and I've just like, and I've slept fine. They just kind of hang off you, and you're supposed to just sit around and not do much anyway. I mean, they're not like the cutest thing, but I did yesterday after leaving the hospital after getting this one out. I put on a flannel shirt and went and shopped at Ross and went to the mall and like walked around a bit. You know, they're not awful. You can function. I'm not in any pain right now, and I'm not on any painkiller. And I'm only a week post-op. I just wish that the concept of them wasn't as fucking super gross, because I totally understand that it is. Because I don't want this to stop anybody. Because it's been so much easier than I thought it would be. Now, the part that I'm not going to sugarcoat this. Getting them out does suck. I got this one out yesterday, and I was really nervous. I didn't know if I'd be able to feel it move under my skin when they pull it out, or anything, or like, ooh, all these gross things, or if it hurt just super bad. And I went, and pretty much all it was an office visit. I wasn't even seen by a surgeon. There was no cutting, no needles, nothing like that. All it was they took off the bandages that was covering it, and pretty much just pulled it out. And I couldn't feel it move under the skin. There wasn't any of that kind of grossness factor, but it did hurt. Like, it was a startling amount of pain, but for like a split second. She was just like, okay, take a few deep breaths, and then whoop, and it sucked, but it was done, and it was not a lingering pain. Like I said, after I left, I like went to the mall and got some Panda Express and just had a perfectly fine day, and it feels so much better having it out. While this one doesn't hurt, it definitely, I'm aware of it. It feels like, at this point, it just kind of feels like maybe my clothes are pinching me a little bit. It's not super painful, but just the relief of having it gone is definitely noticeable. And I don't want to, like, you know, what you can deal with and your own experiences are definitely important, and they're going to be different for everyone. And I don't want to say this is like some rule, because this is just some random person on the internet telling you a thing about their own experience. But in my opinion, if literally 20 seconds of pain would stop you from getting top surgery, you're probably not ready to have top surgery. It's a huge, life-changing commitment. It's something that is always gonna be different. There's gonna be probably more emotional and social change that will be harder to deal with. And something so temporary like that, if you know it's what you want, don't let that stop you. It's just such a drop in an ocean. Am I looking forward to getting this one out tomorrow? Thursday? No. Fuck no. I'm not. I'm kind of glad they did them at different times. And I'll explain why, too. But it made it so at least this one, I'll have a couple days to forget how much it kind of sucked before they do this one. But anyway, yeah. I'll explain why they did the drains at different times. So the reason you record the amount that's coming out is because for me, and this could be different for anybody, the time you can get them out is based on how much fluid is being sucked out. So I was tracking that. The one on the left was doing really well. It had very little fluid in it, and so I got it out earlier. Once the fluid, for me, it was supposed to be under 20. I don't actually know what the exact measurement is this on. I think it says, I don't know. It says cc. It's milliliters. So once it was under 20 milliliters in a 24-hour period for 2 consecutive days, I could get them out. My left drain was that within 2 days, but I live kind of far away from where I got surgery, so going up there a bunch of times is really inconvenient. And the right drain is still like just on the cusp of being ready to be taken out. The nurse said it'd probably be fine, but since I was going back for my post-op on Thursday anyway, to be on the safe side, just left it in. So that's pretty much everything like that comes to mind for me about the drains. It hasn't been a super terrible experience. I feel like I've been more, like I had more emotional things to deal with leading up to surgery than I have since then. The first 2 days were kind of rough, just really sore, on a lot of painkillers, kind of out of it, but I just had major surgery. So, of course, I was sore and out of it and on painkillers. Like, that was part of the deal. But I'm already a week post-op. I'm making my own food. I'm getting up. I'm walking around, trying to still take it easy, which can be kind of hard, especially when the weather's finally nice here. But now I'll answer some more specific questions that people had, things that wouldn't have really necessarily occurred to me that I've gotten questions on through Instagram. One person asked, can or do you still bleed even with the drains out? So the hole kind of just had some gauze put over it, and that'll take a few days to heal. But essentially the hope is that with the drains out, your body will just absorb any excess fluid. Like once it's low enough that it's a reasonable amount to expect your body to absorb. So yeah, there's still blood in there, but I'm not bleeding. My bandages, the bandages don't have blood on them. They're not supposed to. There's no actively open wounds. I'm not changing any dressings. It's just, they're gone now. So the blood is in my body and staying there. Someone else asked if the drains were optional. For me, they weren't. My doctor, and I really appreciate this, seems to be very cautious. And that isn't to say that people who have had surgery without drains had like reckless doctors or anything. People just do it in different styles, and it depends on the size of your chest and the type of surgery you're getting. My doctor for double incision does drains and an overnight stay the first night as a standard part of surgery. And that's not what everybody does. But I was pleased to have somebody who I felt was really like committed to making sure that I left the hospital like after I was definitely ready to leave and be okay. Especially since I spent the first day fucking throwing up the whole time. Anyway, so the drains weren't optional for me. If your surgeon thinks that your chest, that you'll do okay without them, like if they're giving you that option, that probably means that they think both are okay options. Like they're not just going to be like, well, if you don't feel like having drains, it'll fuck it up, but like I doubt that's going to be the case. So if they're a huge issue for you, like if it's really going to fuck you up, you could, I guess skip them. I'm not a doctor. But they're not that bad if you're worried about it. If you're concerned that not having them will negatively impact you, it's not a huge deal. Somebody said, my surgeon said I only track my drains twice a day. I'm super nervous about it. That's really standard. The care sheet I was given said to track them twice a day. My nurse suggested 3 times. So, yeah, it's all good. Don't worry about it. They're really easy to keep track of. I've done mine at 9, 3, and 9 every day. And that's been easy to do. So somebody said, where do the drains go in your body? So it enters in my armpit under here, like right about there, and then goes, I don't think they go super deep, but again, I can't feel them, which is choice. And I'm guessing it goes about halfway across where whatever scar I have is, and it's right along the underside of the chest. How big are the holes and how long will it take to heal? The tube is, I can pull out the tube, it doesn't really have any blood right now. The tube is not super thick, so it can't be bigger than that, and it's all bandaged up. I'm getting my bandages off on Thursday. I might still be left with dressing from the drain since I'm getting this one off Thursday, but I don't think it's a big heal time on that. Certainly not any more than the rest of your chest. Can you sleep on your side? No. At least I haven't been able to. I don't really see how I would. Putting my arms down has been painful on its own. Not like, again, super bad, but not the comfiest thing. Are they uncomfortable in general, / when you touch them? Yeah, like for the first day, a few days at least. They're pretty easy as long as you have some kind of shirt, or I actually wore my hospital gown for the first 2 days, over them to like, you're not going to snag them super easy as long as you put even just a tiny bit of being careful into it. And as long as you're holding the drain tight when you're stripping it, and so it stays against the body, you should be good. They don't really, yeah, they hurt when you poke it where they go in, but it's not super bad. So somebody else asked me why one of my drains in the video I posted on Instagram looked like it had red in it, while the other one was yellow. The one that was red was the one I got out first. I didn't have any plasma in that one, but it had it was all just blood, and it was a much smaller amount. The one on the right that I still have in has had very, very little blood in it, but a large amount of plasma, which is yellowier and just fluidy. It almost looks more like pee, to be honest, which is not cute, but yeah, I called my doctor about that because I wasn't sure, like, hey, this one is producing a lot more and it's yellow, what the fuck? And my surgeon, who luckily I got to talk directly to her, she said that that's totally fine, totally normal. It's just where they're placed, different sides of the chest reacting differently. It's just areas of the body doing their thing. They don't have to match, and it'll all be good. Do the drains restrict any movement? I've kind of touched on this already, but yeah, you just want to make sure that you're not overextending yourself, even if you don't have drains. You're not supposed to do any repetitive arm movements because you don't want to increase the amount of fluid in your chest by moving, making room for it. That's one of the reasons I have to wear this binder for a month, is to just keep my chest pressed flat so that no pockets of fluid can develop. And yeah, I think that's it. I hope this has been helpful. I just know that when I was getting ready to have top surgery, I was super worried about the drains, and the experience I've had with them has been so much less painful and way, way less gross than I thought it was going to be. I hope this helps people in the future who are worried about this. I'm going to show that video, so if you don't want to see blood, you can just click away now. But thanks for watching, and I hope y'all have a good day.